All right, Senator, I am neither a Christian nor an atheist. When we first wrote The Debate, where I go on this sort of thing about I'm not Christian, I'm not a Muslim, I'm not this, I'm not that. You know, we wrote it as a very passionate debate, and that was sort of how the show started. And then got up one morning, came in, and we sat down, and we were like, it's more cynical than that. So then we made Ryan do it first and goofing around, so you won't know what it is in the beginning, and then it pays off in the end.
I'm not a Christian, and I'm not an atheist.
Part of it is just to show how nothing is spontaneous. Absolutely nothing is. And if it is, it's a terrible accident.
I'm one of those evil campaign consultants. We represent everything what people hate about politics.
Got played dirty, all right?
No, none of this is about the democratic process.
Stuart and Grant and I and Steven Soderbergh all worked together, shared an office for about 12 weeks in D.C. when we did K Street. So we got to see sort of the behind the scenes with these guys a lot.
Political consulting is an odd quasi-profession. All you have to do is say you're a political consultant. I mean, even if you drive a cab in New York, you have to take a test. And there are no standards to do what we do. And yet a lot of money is spent there. And that draws a certain kind of opportunist.
And we both know how hard it is. Constantly being on guard, weighing every word, every move. But from the outside, you make it look easy.
There are only a handful of firms who really handle the biggest races, who are people who, year after year, cycle after cycle, really like doing it. And for myself, I mean, I've always had this passion for campaigns. That, to me, it is the combat of campaigns. I think the people who are best at campaigns are those that like the reality of campaigns. You know, people who hate when campaigns are over. And I happen to be one of those sick people.
Stuart has been a really valuable voice. We always just send him things and say, tell us what you would do in this situation.
But his thing is media and message,
Yeah.
you know, and how to sell. It's almost like selling a product.
A lot of what we do now affects news cycles and affects news coverage, and while constructing a narrative. So we make ads, we make video stuff. We'll see something in the morning and decide to act on it, or something at night and decide to act on it.
We have enemies. We have to understand why our enemies are our enemies and see if there's something we can do about it, besides just using force.
Where did we get this?
It's from a town hall meeting before you announced.
Thank God it wasn't overseas. Just get rid of it. Turn it off. Make sure it's not on YouTube. That's the last thing we need.
You know, every day here we have a 7:30 meeting where we look over what's happened in the news, talk about it, what are we going to push for message of the day. We always have an idea of what that message is going to be.
You think there's any truth in this Pullman having investments in diamond mines in Liberia?
Still checking on it, but we got it from a blog, so who the fuck knows?
I don't really care if it's true. I just want to hear him denying it. I mean, if it is true, great, find out. But if not, let them spend the next day telling the Post that he doesn't own a diamond mine in Liberia.
Campaigns always talk about winning the day, winning the news cycle, winning the week, but you have to have sort of a long-range theme. It's sort of like being in a knife fight while you're worried about your cholesterol count.
You really buy into all this crap. All this take back the country nonsense.
Ida, I'm not naive, okay? I've worked on more campaigns than most people have by the time they're 40. I'm telling you, this is the one.
You really have drunk the Kool-Aid.
I have drunk. It's delicious.
The whole press coverage of presidential campaigns is. It's a love-hate relationship.
He's going to North
I
Carolina.
can neither confirm or deny that.
I hate you.
You love me.
I love Paul. You hate.
You love him because he gives you the scoops.
Sexual favors.
You're engaged.
If it meant a good scoop, my fiance would understand.
They travel with the press corps, so they do develop friendships with one another. They're also kind of manipulating one another, and it's complicated.
So this is for real.
Yep. Just about in the bag.
When are you going to announce?
Nope, that's all you get for now.
It's beneficial for the candidate because it makes it harder to write bad things about them, number one, because you're embedded. It's sort of like embedding the reporters in the war. It's hard to write negative things about them because you start to like them. And the good writers are there because they want you to think you're their friend until they can get the story that gets them kicked off the bus.
Ida, you're supposed to be my friend.
You give me what I want, I write you better stories. Don't pretend it's any more than that.
Very textured, very incestuous. One can't exist without the other.
There's that moment that you break, and that break is the thing that gets you a Pulitzer Prize. So you're waiting for that shot.
It's impossible to go through a campaign and not feel betrayed by the press.
What happened at Paul and Thompson's meeting?
Would you keep your voice down? Do you have any idea what this could do to me?
Of course I do. That's why I'm giving you a choice here.
I could get fired.
So it's not a difficult one, is it?
And it's impossible for reporters not to feel used by campaigns.
Aren't we friends anymore?
You're my best friend, Ida.
I think that the great sort of truth that we bump up against is that democracy is very messy. There are really complicated processes now that people don't really understand. Be anything from pledges of what you're going to do if you become president to sort of a wink and a nod that you would hire this person in your campaign.
I can't run from Ohio. They'll kill us.
Not if you get Thompson's endorsement.
I'm not going to do it. What does he want? The FDA or something?
Cabinet post.
Yeah, labor?
State.
Are you fucking kidding me? I'm going to give Secretary of State to a guy who wants to cut the top 10 floors off the UN?
And when you get to the highest levels of power, these are people who have generally gotten there not by playing the rules, which is why they're so successful, you know? And yet we hold them to this high bar of moral conscience and playing by the rules of the game, but that's not what gets you elected president.
They believe they're doing the right thing because the ends justify the means. So if it's, no, I have to get my guy elected, period. And it doesn't matter if some people get hurt along the way. And that's the truth, because you can look at the bigger picture and say, well, look, if he gets elected and he's the better guy, then hundreds of thousands of lives could be affected, maybe saved because of this guy. Then I'm willing to let a few people bite it on this side. You know, and that's fair enough. He should think that way. I wouldn't want a campaign manager that didn't think that way.
If you think that politics is about purity, you're always going to be disappointed.